Well, here we are for the last part of the success path. This is the action items. It's pretty self-explanatory, right? These are the things that you want people to do in order to make progress to the next stage. And now you have to clearly define these. But the good news is that you've actually done the heavy lifting, because if you've defined the milestones, those are your markers and your identifiers. The action items are typically those very things that you want them to do. Let's take an example, a buyer client. If we were mapping out the success path for this person, we would have stages this person would need to go through. We would have milestones, and the action items would follow the milestones accordingly. For example, worst case scenario is a buyer has credit of 400 and is currently renting and is being kicked out of their rental home, right? Worst case. Other end of the spectrum is a buyer that is living in their super spacious, super affordable home with a 30-year fixed mortgage that will never change in monthly payments. How do we make progress from one extreme to the other? That's where we're going to map it out here. If we go to the first stage, some of the action items might be, number 1, sign up to monitor your credit and find out what can be paid off first. Collections that can be taken care of. Whatever can be done to improve the credit score. You might give them a checklist to work with or get one from your lender, because by doing that, they now have a heightened awareness of what they're actually doing that could be creating the negative remarks on their credit. Number 2, action item might be make a list of all the debts they owe and figure out which ones need to be paid off first. Again, you give them some type of tracking sheet or check sheet, or you get a check sheet from a lender, whatever you do. The third action item might be to dispute the item so that the lender can get involved and ultimately provide them with what is the first real step in buying, getting an approval letter. This is where you and I have to be clear about defining what these particular things are. Don't use vague and general terms. Give people specifics in terms of what you want them to do, because then you can go back to them and you can say, hey, have you done this and that yet? Have you done that specifically? And if they say yes, you say, great, let me see your check sheet. And then you can see them squirm. Guess what? You know they haven't done that action item. You could say, have you sent in all your items to the lender yet? And if they say, yeah, I have. Great, can I see your check sheet? And if you can ask the lender if they've done it, again, if they squirm, then you know they haven't taken that action. The key thing here is that you define action so that they're clear and that you know for certain whether somebody has done them or not. Because if they do them, the nature of just taking the action that you're asking them to do will move them down the progress line, and if you will, down the success path. Here's a little tip. When you're defining things, these action items, one of the things that I recommend is that you make the ones in the beginning easy, because the easier they are, the more likely people are going to do them. The more likely they do them, the more momentum they get on their side. And the more momentum they have, the more progress they will make overall. If they get hung up in the early stages, where the action items are really difficult or really hard or they take a long time, people get discouraged and they just don't make the kind of progress that they can. And when that happens, they're going to drop communication with you and move on. So the next time you notice that someone has disappeared, think about what they just had to do. Bottom line, in the earlier stages, make the action item things that are going to be easy to do. It's going to help people get momentum, and it's going to help them make a lot more progress overall. This is your client success path. Don't think by any means that you should be able to get this right away, because it doesn't happen. Most of the time, this takes a lot of discussion. It takes a lot of thinking, because the responsibility is on you and the weight responsibility is on you to think this through. But here is the good news. When you do this work now, it's going to create so much clarity for your customers that it's going to be a unique differentiator for you among everyone else that's out there teaching your subject matter. Do the heavy lifting now. Leverage our community. Put your responses below in terms of your success path for your specific market and get feedback. Let's have some discussion. Make sure you fill out the worksheet. Again, if you haven't downloaded the detailed success path Excel spreadsheet, go do that now and begin filling it in. Start with your stages and your characteristics. then define your milestones, and then your action items. In the next lesson, I'm going to share with you a way to begin leveraging your success path. It is my most favorite thing to do when it comes to providing and helping people make progress. Make sure you fill out your success path. In the next lesson, I'll show you how to begin leveraging it.